Elizabeth Warren has been making a lot of waves in the Democratic Party. So much so that she has been making some of the Democratic Party nervous, especially when it comes to some of the centrists. Now, the centrist Democrats, under the New Democrat Coalition, basically it's a caucus of moderates that are planning on unveiling a different economic policy platform than the one recently released by Elizabeth Warren and Elijah Cummings. Now, Representative Scott Peter, who is one of these centrist Democrats, and I don't really think they're centrist, I think they're more corporatist, but I'll get into that in a minute. Representative Scott Peters of California, he says, quote, on this, "My own preference is to create a message without bashing businesses or workers, the latter of which happens on the other side." Now let me stop there. The whole thing is that they're trying to say, these centrists, these corporatist Democrats, are saying that Elizabeth Warren, all she's doing is just bashing business. She's bashing business and bashing workers and bashing the banks. We don't like that. That makes us uncomfortable. Well, why does that make them uncomfortable? Well, as you'll undoubtedly see as I continue to go on with the story, that the centrist Democrats are really on the side of not just large corporations. Large corporations are fine. Everybody's on the side of, business and making money, etc., right? But these Democrats, they're on the side of corporatists. They are corporatists. They're on the side of corporatism and crony capitalism. But I'll get to that in a few minutes. Now, he continues, to the extent that Republicans beat up on workers and Democrats beat up on employers, I'm not sure that offers voters much of a vision. Once again, I'm going to have to disagree with that. I don't think that Democrats beat up on employers. Only employers that are not treating their workers fairly. Now, I can agree that the GOP does beat up on workers. For example, Scott Walker getting rid of collective bargaining, getting rid of unions, etc. And, with that union money declining, that used to primarily go to Democrats, where are the Democrats going to turn to funding? Who are they going to turn to fill their campaign coffers? They're going to go to big corporations. They're going to go to banks. They're going to go to private donors. People who are very wealthy, people who are also economically conservative. This is why these are conservative Democrats, blue dog Democrats, and corporatists. Now, what's funny is that this article goes into the basically the third way. And they're talking about the third way and some of the centrist parties that, for example, Bill Clinton was backed by. And we all know the legacy that Bill Clinton left. Bill Clinton, in the third way, those are the guys that deregulated the banks in the first place, that allowed our economy to crash. You deregulate the banks, you take away the cops, and of course the robbers start to run the place. And they robbed us all. And that's the problem that I have with the third way. And that's what I have the problem with the New Democrat Coalition and these corporatist, centrist Democrats. They want to continue to bring us over to the right even further. And that's exactly what they're saying. Progressive Policy Institute, who is aligned with the Third Way and the New Democrat Network, the president and founder, by the name of Will Marshall, said, no, we need to avoid the danger of talking only about redistribution and not enough about economic growth. What does that mean? Put in simple terms, economic growth means giving the corporations everything that they want. Reducing regulation, reducing tax rates, cutting taxes on the wealthy corporations so that they can grow. So they can grow their budgets. They can grow their bottom lines. And these people like Will Marshall and can support Democrats who toe the party line with campaign contributions. This is what this is all about. This is about, hey, Elizabeth Warren, hey, Bernie Sanders, tone down your rhetoric. Stop going after corporations. Well, we're not going after corporations. We're going after crony capitalists. And that's why one of the reasons Warren was so popular. Because she's actually being a populist. She's saying, look, this is what the banks get wrong. This is what the economy is doing wrong. Your wages as a worker in America have stagnated. What's happened to the compensation for CEOs and executives or corporate profits? Through the roof. That's not a coincidence. That's from people like the Third Way. They have designed that way to do it, and they've taken over the Democratic Party. And they're afraid of it going too far to the left. Oh, if you go too far to the left, you're not going to win elections. For example, Gabe Horitz, director of Third Way's economic program, said, quote, in the last election, Democrats as a party offered a message of fairness. Voters responded, and they responded really negatively. Oh, really? They responded negatively? No, nobody came out to vote. That's not a problem of messaging. And it was a problem of terrible candidates who were not strong enough on messaging. They weren't strong enough at all. They said, "Oh, well, we're gonna back away from Obama. We're gonna back away from the left. We're gonna be conservative." You're saying that Mark Pryor tried to spread a message of fairness? He was about Jesus and cutting regulations and taxes for corporations. Of course he didn't get elected. Allison Lundergan Grimes, huge advocate of the coal industry. She couldn't get enough coal. But you're telling me that she had too much of a message of fairness? That she was too far left? That's what the Third Way is trying to tell us. Oh, we need to back away from that. We need to back away from actually being progressives. We need to back away from this populist stuff. Sure, populism is great. However, we need to appease our donors. That just shows that the progressive wing doesn't really, they don't really care about the progressive wing in the Democratic Party. They don't care about progressives. They have strayed from the principles of liberalism and are siding much more with crony capitalists. This isn't a capitalist system. What they do right now, what they did in 2008 after the crisis, is that they privatize the risk and socialize the losses. This is socialism for the wealthy. And the Third Way and the centrist corporatist Democrats, they are all for it. The Blue Dog Coalition. Senator Tom Carper of Delaware is a Democrat who's a centrist, and he says, we need more moderates and centrists in both parties. Do we need more centrists? The problem with having more centrists right now in the Democratic Party is that they're not fighting enough for progressive values. We are so far to the right now. And the Democrats have missed the memo. They have missed the message and say, well, we just need to keep capitulating. We need to go down to the middle. And the Republicans, they move the goalposts and say, why aren't you coming to the middle with us? When in reality, coming to the middle with the Republicans is all about going to their side. What makes me upset is Howard Dean. Howard Dean. Even he was critical of Warren. Look, she's right on policy, but you just need to tone it down. Tone down the rhetoric. You're making our donors upset. You're making the business community upset. Quote, our program cannot soak the rich. That's a mistake, and it alienates middle-class people. How? There's a recent poll from the AP that says 68% of Americans say the wealthy pay too little in federal taxes. That is a massive majority. 68%, almost 70% of the country. And Howard Dean says, well, we're alienating middle-class people. Why? Is it because middle-class people are continuously being lied to? Look, middle-class people pay too many taxes too. And they do so because the wealthy are not paying their fair share. They're not paying enough. He also says, the rhetoric about wealth creation needs to be scaled back because Americans like wealth creation. I like wealth creation. I like tacos. There's nothing wrong with wealth creation. That's not what she's going after. She's going after crony capitalism, socializing the risk and privatizing the gain. That is what she's going at. If anything, she's fighting socialism. Socialism for the wealthy. But no, he completely misses it. The level playing field argument wins it for us. Yes, it is. It does. The reason you do not want to talk about tax the rich is because when middle class people hear it, they hear they're going to raise our taxes. Democrats can't do that. And that just shows the effectiveness of conservative messaging. Basically, conservative messaging is making middle class people think that they're only, quote, temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Don't raise their taxes, because then when we become millionaires, our taxes are going to be high. How ridiculous is that argument? That is absolutely ridiculous. That's lying to the American people. And it's a complete misunderstanding by, like, anybody who believes that is believing in an America that doesn't exist anymore. It's the meritocracy lie that we continue to be sold by oligarchs who have burned the bridges. There used to be a time in America when you could work up the ladder, when anybody could make it. Now only a select few make it. And most of them burn the bridges behind them to make sure that the next generation doesn't. That's what we're living in now. And that's a failure of the Democratic Party to express that. And Elizabeth Warren is out there saying that's exactly what's happened. They've burned the bridges. That no longer happens. The regular person can no longer make it through sheer hard work. Her message is spot on, and the Democratic Party needs to get with it, or they're going to continue to lose. It's not because they're not right-wing or centrist enough. It's because they don't fight. They don't have a spine. They don't have a backbone. And it's about time the Democratic Party gets their spine, or there isn't going to be a Democratic Party left. Get with it, people.